Hello and welcome to PTC Cast episode 32. Today, Chris and I talk a little bit about motivation, where to derive that motivation from, and more importantly, how to keep it and how not to lose it, to stay invested, to stay involved in your own health and wellness journey. This podcast is brought to you by ProgressThroughChange.com, where you can get your 4 Easy Habits for Fat Loss guide. It's a free PDF download that takes about 10 to 15 seconds that I cannot recommend enough, although I am biased because I wrote it. But yes. Check it out. Enjoy the show. Who, what, and where do you derive motivation from and inspiration?
But what does that mean? In what context? Like life in general?
Yeah, in the gym and fitness. What?
Gym and fitness?
What gets you motivated, man? What gets you amped up? What makes you want to be a better you? What makes you? I don't know. What makes you kick?
When it comes to fitness and I guess activities in general, ideas kind of draw me in. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean that's where I draw inspiration from.
What's like the most recent idea you can think of?
Dirt bike riding.
Okay.
Yeah, I was with my stepdad and we were going dirt bike riding, and after I had a lot of fun with it. Mm-hmm. I've been watching YouTube videos on how to get better with dirt bike riding, and
I can see your whole history because you watch on the PTC YouTube channel. So
yeah.
I logged into it
really?
Today,
you can see it?
And like all the recommended is for like dirt bike stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So I've been diving deep into that, and I guess that's like my current, but that's not really fitness.
What about it? Why does it have you excited? Let's start there.
Because you're automatically like completely present when you're doing it. First of all, it's dangerous as hell. Mm-hmm. Second of all, it's really fun. And third of all, I guess I'm sure this will be even down the road after riding for a long time. You learn so many things just continuously.
Sure.
Like, I seriously felt like when I was riding, my brain was constantly just absorbing the environment, absorbing how my body was, reacting to certain situations and, creating solutions for, future problems. And it was just breaking it down. And maybe that's why, I liked powerlifting so much in the first place, was because I was, breaking it down from the start. Mm-hmm. And, so you're soaking up so much information in the beginning that it's just drawing you in, and it's addicting.
So it's almost that new thing that's made you like motivated and excited.
Yeah, because
it's new.
Yeah,
because you're a hyper beginner.
Yeah, and I did it as a child too, so I kind of have like some history with the dirt bike riding. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's what it is, and then the progression that I get from it, it's really exciting. Hitting a turn, or let's just say we would go to a track in the back of the trail that we went to.
Sure.
And, the first time doing it, I was okay. And then, it got better and better. And eventually I wasn't falling on the turns anymore. Yeah. And, last week it got to the point where I was hauling ass on the turns, and I was like completely sideways turning.
Like Tokyo drifting.
Yeah, dude. And in the beginning, I was falling on the turns going, and I would fall because I wasn't, like I was barely moving because I was scared of the turns. I didn't know how to turn. And then fast forward to the second session, I'm over here like a completely different rider. And I'm sure that next time I go, it's going to be even better. And just that progression just feels good. And, the adrenaline, and again, the fact that, you're completely just involved in the process. Mm-hmm. And there is no thinking about anything else. Mm-hmm. Because there's no time to think about anything else. That's the same with like lifting. If you're in a set, you're not thinking about anything else. You're thinking about that specific set, and that's why I like it.
So I think in order to feel feelings like that and to derive that sort of thing from a new experience, I think something that's really important that most people don't like to talk about is you basically have to be willing to be a fool. You have to be willing to be an idiot, to not know anything, to fall, to mm-hmm. ask someone how you turn the damn thing on, to, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so I think that's where some people fall short. And if I don't need to make this tie in already, but like if we were to compare it to health and wellness, man, like, most people who struggle are just figuring it out as they go. Maybe they pull some information online or anything, but they haven't really like approached a professional or asked for help, and I think it takes that kickstart, that willingness to feel that progress, and then to get that almost addictive feeling, like, you went the first lap and it was okay, and the second lap was a little better, and the third lap was even better. You know what I mean? And so it's like, you go to the gym the first time and it's okay, but if you're maybe with a professional, you have a plan, well, then the second time it's going to be a little better, and the third time it's going to be a little bit better. Like, so I think in order to like feel that motivation, that inspiration, whatever you want to call it, from that sort of source, that source of something new, or being a beginner, you got to be willing to be an idiot.
Yeah, and it's like the
rate that in the best way possible. You got to be willing to be like, I don't know shit, man. Help me figure it out.
Yeah, and it's like there's like a rate of progress, and if you are asking help from professionals, obviously you're gonna progress way faster. Like, yeah, you can figure it out on yourself, but yeah, you may be, kind of confused or slowing down in the progression where you feel like you want to go faster. And yeah, if you're asking questions, willing to be a fool, and not even think of yourself as being a fool, just asking questions and stuff, you're gonna progress way faster. And just be genuinely curious about the process. And that was also what I really liked about whenever I was learning the dirt bike riding is, we would do a lap or two, and then we would pull off to the side. We would talk about, how we were riding, and then, I would get tips. And
a little better.
And as soon as I would do those tips, I'd do a lap or two, and then I'd come back and I'd be like, I fucking got it. Yeah. That shit made it like way better.
Yep.
And I'd be like, okay, can you ride behind me to, just critique a little bit? And then, it was awesome. And one thing that was really funny about this was I thought that I was going to be scared with dirt bike riding, with falling and it being dangerous, but this goes with anything else, lifting or anything. One thing that was very important to me, or not very important, but that I realized was good after the fact, was me falling, me getting my falls and my fails in. Because those fails, that's where I learned the most about
100%
how to get it right. And
you got to make a couple fumbles.
Yeah, exactly. And making those fumbles is, if you want to get better, your brain's going to figure out exactly how or what went wrong and how to fix it next time you're in that situation. So whenever I would hit those situations where I failed before, my brain would like instinctually fix it for me. So that's really cool.
You had to be a little bit more like present in the moment. And I think that's another big piece of it, is it's like
presence.
Obviously with it being dirt biking, your recent endeavor, something that's a little bit I'm going to say high risk, if you F up the wrong way, you could be in some trouble. So you really have to respect it and pay attention to what you're doing. But I think part of that is just being a hyper beginner and truthfully wanting to be better at anything. It's that attention and that focus. It's like you have to, because you don't really know what you're doing. It's like a brand new movement pattern to you. It's a brand new feeling. It's a brand new sensation. So it's like the more you can dial in and pay attention to that, the better. So, the reason I asked you, where exactly you derive motivation from is because that's really interesting to me, because I have some clients who will nail a set of something and they get really excited about it, or they'll nail a set of something and they feel like they still did it wrong, or like there's something could be better. And I feel like there's sort of this in-between pathway to that, where it's like, well, yeah, it could always be better, sure, there's always that room for improvement, or that room to be better, but like that's what's supposed to be exciting.
Yes,
like,
that's what is exciting.
Exactly. That, to me, that's the part. And it's like, maybe the great set you just had was a representation of that you're moving in the right direction. Because there really is going to be no perfect, no end game, no whatever. And so I think that's true with everything in life, man. That like, if you want to get better at something, you have to be willing to try and fail. You have to be willing to not know. You have to be willing to ask for help. You have to be willing to analyze where you've been and where you're going,
Yeah, and I think that all of that attributes to, just more progress. And I think the cool thing about progress is you start asking yourself about the possibilities for future progress, you know?
Yeah.
Like, shit, I know when I first started bodybuilding as a teen, looking in the mirror, with my pump, I'd be like, okay, if I keep this going, I can look like this before getting in the gym. Yeah. And that
Pump
makes
chasing.
you, you, work even harder. And even better, smarter, and doing maybe exercises that'll make you, reach that progress even faster. And yeah, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You go into this thing and, with this level of experience, then you get a little bit more insight into the possibilities. And then, you put that into your next training session to get a little bit more. And just boom, 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 boom. And then, if you're asking for professionals, instead of it going like maybe really slow up, you're going like this up. And then, it's really awesome, man. It really is.
I'm glad you said that, because I think a big piece of it too is simply the way that you choose to look at it. Your perception of it. Either it can be this thing where like, oh, I'll never be this, or I'll never be that. And it's like, well, look at how much better I'm doing than when I was here or when I was there, or, you know what I mean? And so I think it's one of those things that it's like, if you can accept the fact that I'm going to go ahead and say a lifelong process, but whatever it is, if we're talking about health, right, a lifelong process, but whatever the endeavor is, man, like if you can sit there and think, hey, here's where it could be, I think that's awesome. Like that's a really good way to stay driven in, to stay focused, to stay excited about it, versus sitting there and looking like and thinking I could never get there because look at where I am now. Yeah. But then you could, on the flip side of that, man, look at how far you've already come. Look at what you've already done. And so it's like, people will lose 10 pounds and be like, yeah, well, I got to lose 100. And it's like, okay, well then do what you just did 9 more times.
Breaking it down.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, break it down however you want, man. You're 10% of the way there. That's huge. I had a client who he went down like an inch and a half on his waist, I think in like a month. Yeah. And he was excited about it, and so was I. But man, I was like, well, dude, that's 18 inches in a year. And he's like, oh fuck. He's like, yeah, that is 18 inches in a year. Imagine taking 18 inches off your waist.
That's ridiculous. But you don't think about it in those long things. People usually think about the beginning and the end.
Yes.
Or I think I said that wrong. People just think about where they are
and what the end, and they see how far it is. But it's like, think of it like a football field, man. Like, yeah, it's 100 yards or 120 yards, whatever. But it's like, yeah, but there's a tick mark every way.
Yeah, just keep on walking.
There's a checkpoint every single way.
You'll get to that.
It's a video game. It's a book with chapters. It's whatever you want to call it. There's checkpoints. There's steps. There's like, and I think that's a really, really important segue into measuring progress.
Yes.
Measuring progress. And, that can come from different ways, because I know tons of people whose scale weight doesn't move, but they get so much better. They get so much stronger. Their shape changes. I mean, it's incredible. And their scale weight will change, a little bit, but what you actually see in the mirror is a lot. And what they can do in the gym is a lot. But because they decide to use the scale as their metric for tracking progression, they don't give themselves any credit. Yeah. And then this,
it's like a cascading.
And I'm just throwing numbers around, but then maybe they're 10% of the way there versus they think they're 1% of the way there, but really they're 10% of the way there just because of the way they're looking at it. And so it's almost like if you're not measuring that progression, or you're using the wrong thing to measure that progression, then man, you're going to drive yourself nuts, because this thing's going to look like it's, 100 miles long when really, you're in the last 500 meter stretch. So I'm throwing a lot of terms and BS around, but this is something that really gets me hyped up, man, because
it can destroy or build your progress if you're measuring the wrong thing.
Dude, if you could just get addicted to those like small little steps, man, the adding a rep here, the adding 5 pounds here, the losing a pound off the scale, the losing an inch off the waist, like all of those things, they compound, man. They all compound. It's not like, and the thing is too, man, is like that's how it works. Like, you don't just magically wake up and are down 40 pounds. Like, you had to lose 39 first, and you had to lose 38 before that. You had to lose 37 before that. Like, it works that way. Nobody just like woke up and was Mr. Olympia, or, the top Billboard artist, or the #1 actor, or, you know what I mean? Like, it was all checkpoints. It was all steps to get there.
Alex, but it's so hard to stick to it. I say that, but that's dude, like I fall victim to that all the time. That's why I can't stick to like normal things, or that's why I struggle with sticking to normal things, because I don't see that compound process. Yeah. That's why I do things with my training at the very high highs and the very low lows, because I'm not going to lie. I said that in a sarcastic voice, but I'm dead serious. Yeah. It's hard doing that, dude.
Yeah. It is, man. Because if you don't have that right way to track measurement, and maybe you put too much stock into something, like, maybe what if you have a bad lift, and usually you can bench 300, but you slept 5 hours the night before, you had 1,000 calories the day before, and then, you know, you go to bench, you can only bench 250. But you're sitting there thinking, well, last week I could bench 300. Today I can't bench 300. I'm getting worse.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, man, like you
If
didn't
you take a step back
you
and
didn't take exactly. You
look
didn't
at
take
the
that step
yeah.
back and look at that bigger picture, you know, see the parameters. And it's not to sit here and make excuses, but it's like, you know, sleeping 10 hours a night and having 4,000 calories and then going into a bench session is way different than sleeping 5 hours a night and having 1,000 calories going into a bench session. And so now we're kind of, again, throwing some random things around here, but my point there is like, it's this hard game, man, because it's like, okay, number one, how do you track the progress, and how do you track it? I'm going to use the word fairly, but more so accurately.
Yeah.
Right? Like what's the right tool? What's the right way? And that's going to be dependent upon what the goal is, you know? But like in your scenario with the highs and the lows, I think it's one of those things where it's like you happen to have a great day, so there's this huge high, but then everybody also has bad days. And so then there's this huge low. It's like, because if you could take that step back and quantify that a little bit more, you know what I'm saying?
It's hard for me to do that. And, you know, I'm sure it's hard for a lot of people. And I was gonna say, you know, it goes back to the instant gratification. Like when I was losing all that weight, or, you know, getting as strong as I was as a teen, it felt good to be able to carry that insane rate of progress. And whenever I would have a bad day, that motivation of that insane rate of progress would carry me through those. And I'd be, you know, on point. Yeah, I get that it's not, you know, maintainable long term, but that's usually why I stick to, you know, the really short term all in things, because it's so much easier. And like, yeah, just hats off to you to be able to, you know, stick to those consistent things. It's hard, bro.
Yeah, it is, man. And I mean, it's
how do you help somebody realize the benefit to, you know, the compounding effect of sticking to those little things long term? Because, you know, I could have lost, you know, all that weight and maybe even more at a way healthier way, doing that over a couple of years instead of me, you know, knocking it out in 2.5 months. And maybe that would have been, you know, the better way to go. Sure. But I honestly don't know if I would have been able to do that, because like the vastness of it and, you know, the vagueness of that end goal and the possibility of actually reaching that end goal. So how do you, I guess, get that idea into people that they can achieve these things and that it's better to do it, you know, long term?
Really, I think it's going to be case specific, man. But, you know, the first thing that comes to mind when you ask me that, I have a client, and she used Weight Watchers for about 10 years. Okay. And she showed me her weigh-in logs from Weight Watchers, and it fluctuated about 15 pounds over 10 years. Wow. Her weight would go up or down, but it stayed within the same 15 pounds for about 10 years. And so, you know, that's something that can be a little disheartening. You know, you're trying, you know, you're doing something, and she was, you know, doing the daily habits of weighing in and doing it, you know, but then it's like, you know, we're bouncing up, we're bouncing down, we're bouncing up. Maybe we'd have a weekend off. Maybe we'd, you know, be on point for 2 weeks, you know, whatever. But we were obviously like wiggling around there. And it's like, okay, so at the end of the 10 years, she ended up, you know, starting at the higher point when we started together. So I'm going to go ahead and say that over that 10 years, it was flush zero. Yes. Zero. Okay. Damn. Well, 10 years is 120 months. She'd have lost half a pound a month. That would have been 60 pounds down. Yeah. And so for me, you know, that's not...
Instead of net zero.
Yeah. Exactly. Instead of net zero. Yeah. And it's like, I guess where I'm going with that, not everyone's going to be able to look at it that way, but it's the tortoise versus the hare discussion, man.
And I see it, you know, it makes sense in my head, but I guess it's hard to actually employ that into life, like into the day-to-day process. Like the idea of losing half a pound in a month just sounds like nothing. Like, what's the point? But when you bring it to
what's the comparison? Like, is zero in
exactly
10 years. What's the comparison? So that's
why
where
is that?
And that's where I'm going with that. Is it's like, I'm not saying like the long term or the micro steps are like the only way to do it, but that's a really good way to stay invested, man. Because I know for me personally, like, I don't know, it sucks to think that like you could have made all this progress, but instead, you know, you decided you had to sprint 3 steps forward just to step 3 steps back versus like taking a baby step forward.
Yeah.
Because it's like, at the end of the day, progress is progress. It just depends on the time frame you put on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I guess that's my big thing, man, is you have to think with all the other like life responsibilities and things that we have going on, whether that's social life or work or kids or responsibilities, whatever that might be, like the realistic chance that someone can be like, all right, I'm going to lose 100 pounds in 3 months. That's pretty case specific. You know, you're a pretty special person to have been able to do that. And you have to your own explanation, it was during COVID. You didn't have anything else going on. And so I think like in a case like that, sure, man. But when we're sitting here looking at like average Joe who has 3 hours in the gym tops a week.
That's the only way that they would be able to achieve that.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And I don't know. To me, it just makes more sense.
I think it makes more sense too. Like the other way doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Part of it for a lot of people too, and myself at first included, is when you're a perfectionist or someone who's a high achiever, that seems fucking stupid to try to take micro steps when you could take big steps. And it's like, maybe that's
my question.
And
how do you rationalize that?
And I think that might be more it. And I think it's accepting that you're never going to be perfect. It's never going to be exactly what you want it to be. It's, we were talking about adherence in the last podcast and how that's kind of the foundation of everything. But the reason that's really important, man, is it's like, let's say I set my adherence or the base of my foundation at, I'm going to train 2 hours a day, 7 days a week. So all of my training, my calories, my sleep, my planning, everything is around that. What happens if I miss one workout?
Everything just goes to shit.
Yep. Nailed it. And so to me, it's like,
and then you're not adhering to it. Yeah.
Literally as small as you can. As small as you can. Smaller than you're thinking right now. Like don't even try to walk 10 minutes a day every day.
Yeah.
Try 10 minutes every other day. And then see if you can build on it. Like wherever and that starting point is obviously going to be way different for everybody. But, if you're someone who you find yourself like, after a night of binge eating and drinking, you're like, I'm never going to eat out or drink again. And I'm going to train 6 days a week, an hour a day. And I'm only going to eat 1,500 calories a day. It's not going to fucking work.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. Start easier, man. Like start with something that you can do. Build those micro victories. Build that confidence. Get good at it. And then make it hard.
So you're saying the idea is to build a lifestyle. Okay.
It's the corniest phrase in the book, but man, I will repeat it on my deathbed until the day that I die. But this is about fitting fitness into your life, not your life into fitness. If you try to condense and cram and shove in, things for your fitness routine that just will not work for your lifestyle or your time commitment or your responsibilities or your abilities, whatever that may be, if you try to force that to happen, man, you're just going to end up at square zero every time.
Yeah.
Every single time. Every time. So that's really my big thing there.
That's what I'm trying to do in life right now. I feel like I kind of broke down everything in life, and I started at like ground zero, and I'm trying to adopt that mentality because I don't want to get here and then just have it all break down, then have to get back or expect myself to get back to that level and maintain that. Yeah. Like it fucking sucks, dude. Yeah. And it only lasts for, maybe a couple weeks, if I'm lucky, a couple months. And I want to build towards something that's actually maintainable. Yeah, like a lifestyle, because I don't want those habits to just be one-offs. Yeah. Like, eating good foods, good quantity amount of foods. I want to be able to have that consistently year round instead of having, maybe a month where I'm good and then 2 weeks where I'm off and I'm and it was all for like, that month before was kind of destroyed because of those 2 weeks. Yeah. I'm sick of that, man. Yeah. And so I was just trying to like understand.
Yeah. Well, when we were writing the 4 Easy Habits for Fat Loss Guide, it was important to me that they were called easy habits, because I'm not sitting here and saying that fat loss is hard, but you can't tell me that the habits are hard. You can't tell me it's hard to walk every day unless you can't walk. Yeah, true. You can't tell me it's hard to food journal every day. You can't tell me it's hard to introduce a resistance training program, even if that means doing body weight squats for 10 reps once a day or something like that. You know what I mean? You can't tell me that these starting points are hard or challenging. The hard part is the consistency over time. So that's my big thing, man, is it's like the processes themselves don't necessarily need to be hard, but they have to be enough to compound over time. You know what I'm saying? Would you lose more fat if instead of walking 10 minutes a day, you did an hour of cardio a day, and maybe instead of just food journaling, you were specifically tracking your calories, and your resistance training was 6 days a week? I mean, would that all be better? Yeah, man. But can you maintain that for the rest of your life? I don't know. That's a case specific question. But I feel like I dog on Biggest Loser like every chance I get. But did you ever watch that show?
Yeah.
Biggest Loser. And so they take, morbidly obese people from their homes, their normal lifestyles, their normal routines, responsibilities, and things that they have going on, pull them to a camp. At that camp, they're following workouts. They're not working. They don't see their kids. They don't see their family. They don't get to talk to anybody. It's all they're focused on is working out and eating food that's prepared for them. They're not given any tools outside of that. They're not, they basically get to dedicate their entire life to weight loss for whatever, a month, 2 months, however long they get to be there. My question becomes, what happens when you have to go back to the other, 90 hours a week of shit you got going on when you go back to real life?
Yeah.
It's like, how can you expect yourself to maintain that same thing, that same level of intensity, that same everything, when you lost whatever, 80, 90 hours that you had before? It's not going to work. It's not going to work. So you have to start from a place where it's like, okay, well, Monday through Friday, I'm super busy, but Tuesday, Thursday, I go into work kind of late. So, I'll work out those mornings, and then Saturday, Sunday, I can, do some cardio or something. You know what I'm saying? Like it's, look at your lifestyle, look where you have time, figure out what you can do, and start from there. Like every single time I write a program for myself or for anyone else, I want to know what the busiest days I have going on are. For me, it's Monday, Wednesday. Okay, I don't lift on Monday, Wednesday. I got other shit going on. I'll plan everything else around that. You know what I mean? Because it's like, well, if I try to make myself lift 7 days a week when I have, 12-hour days on Monday, Wednesday, what's the likeliness I'm going to make that happen every single time? Maybe once in a while if I'm feeling like motivated, or a client cancels, or, I got to bed early or something like that and I had some extra time and I was feeling good. Yeah, maybe. But it's like, what is the realistic chance that you're going to do it every time?
Yeah.
Probably not great. So I don't know. I can't like, I feel like I probably get like funny looks, but I feel like you have to set the bar like pretty low to start, and that's okay. And then you can crank that up at your own rate. Like you can try to add a day of working out. You could try to add an extra 10 minutes to your walk, once you've done it for a week, once you've done it for 2 weeks, like get it under your belt and then build on it. You don't need to slowly, I'm not saying stay at that level forever, but just slowly build on it. Like make it a little harder, make it a little longer, make it a little more challenging. Like,
I guess that goes to, the rate of progress before. Like with everything that I, try to do, I always start down here and, I build up. But then when it comes to these habits and shit, I expect myself to start from here. Yeah. Like that doesn't make any sense. Yeah. So, damn. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and that's a conversation, like every time I'm doing a consultation call about online coaching and, I'm kind of explaining the process, dude, it basically takes until like week 4 that we're actually tracking macros. Because like week 1 is just a food journal. Week 2 is calories. Week 3 is a protein minimum. And week 4 is a carbohydrate cap, depending on who you are. So, all of that to be said, and you have to do all those well and accurately and consistently. If I've, let's say it's that week 1 and I've asked you to food journal and you food journal 3 of the 7 days. Well, I'm not going to ask you to track calories if I can't get you to write down everything you eat for 7 days. How can I expect you to write down all the calories you eat for 7 days? I'm not going to ask you to write down your grams of protein if you haven't tracked your calories. I'm not going to ask you to write down your grams of carbs if you haven't tracked your grams of protein. So all of that to say, like, you have to crawl and then walk and then run and then sprint. Like it's a process, man. And like when I don't mean to sound, I'm really not trying to like talk down to anybody or anything, man, because I'm all about like getting excited and wanting to hit it hard. Like that's awesome, but you have to take a more long-term approach, because like you're really shooting yourself in the foot if you expect yourself to be sprinting right off the bat. How many people do you think get super excited and motivated about working out and weight loss, and then they set the expectations so high for themselves when they can't commit to it, they throw it all out the window? Yeah. Happens all the time, man. Happens all the time.
I don't blame them, because I'm sure that, if they want to start, they would go on YouTube, find some YouTuber that gives them a program, some crazy ass program, and they follow that. That's the same with like, I don't know if you were to go to YouTube and look up, a good morning routine. You find some morning routine that's fucking insane.
It's like
that
2
starts,
hours long.
That starts at like 5 a.m.
Yeah.
And
it's like you don't have to be at work till 10 a.m.
Yeah,
but
then
at 5 in the morning.
Yeah,
like,
but then you watch these videos thinking that, oh, this is normal. This is what these people do.
Yeah.
So I should start at this level. Well, no, but they go into that thinking that, and I know I go into that thinking that with a lot of things. So I don't know.
And some people think that, when I say like certain life responsibilities or scenarios or things like that, as I'm not using them as excuses, but I'm using them as like parameters that you kind of have to respect. Like, dude, if you have 3 kids, you're probably not going to be in the gym 6 days a week. And that's okay. Like, you don't have to be. You shouldn't be mad about it. But it's like, man, unless you want to sacrifice a lot of sleep or free time or something else, like, you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Like, it does, yeah. The 3 kids aren't a bad thing, but it's like that's just happens to be the parameter you're working within, man. That's okay. Like, not everybody needs to be, on LeBron's workout program that's fucking 40 hours of training a week or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
and that's the point that's the point that I'm thinking, we expect ourselves to, just grab other people's lifestyle and like, just plug and play.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Yeah. We have our own life. An
hour of cardio every morning. That's what I got to do. This guy does literally like 30 something hours of cardio a month. I need to do that. How are you gonna do that if you have XYZ going on, man? Like, you have to create those parameters for yourself.
Like a framework. Starting off like a framework
is a much better way to put it, I think. Yeah, because a framework is more an acknowledgement of just the things you've got going on. And there's nothing wrong with those things. They're not excuses. I'm not saying they're any of that. But they're things that like need to be respected and are going to take parts of your time. That's
what I'm trying to figure out right now. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think part of the conversation also can become like, I don't want to say like, is it worth it? But like, let's say you're training 3 days a week, but you're somebody who works 80 hours a week and is a high performer, super busy, and you have like, maybe every night you watch TV with your significant other, and you're sitting there thinking to yourself, well, I could work out 2 more times during the week if I gave up that hour of TV with my significant other. And then the question becomes like, man, is that really worth it? Like, do you really have to do that? Do you have to give up that time with your partner or whoever it is? You know what I mean? And
social media tells you yes.
Yeah, see, and that's my thing, man. It's like, no, you don't.
You don't.
You really don't, man.
You're your own self.
You really don't, man.
You can decide that shit for yourself.
Yeah, and I fall guilty with work stuff all the time. Like, it's my biggest thing is I have to create some parameters for my work stuff. Otherwise, I'll just let it take over my life.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if I let it take over my life, then my fitness falls apart, then my friendships fall apart, then my relationship falls apart, then my happiness falls apart. You know what I mean? And so it's like, you have to figure out, okay, how much time can I really dedicate? Like, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, no ego, no pride, nothing to prove to anyone, nothing to stand up to or whatever. It's just like, okay, really, I have, a free hour here, here, and here. These are the times that I work out. All right. What can I do food-wise? Well, I'm probably not going to meal prep. I have, a free hour at lunch, and here's all the best places I could go eat. Well, I'm going to try to stick to these places. Maybe that won't be the best thing in the world because you're still eating out 5 days a week for lunch. But, if you pick Chipotle over McDonald's 5 days a week, for 4 weeks, that shit adds up, man. So I don't know, man. All I'm trying to say, and I'm definitely rambling and tangenting a little bit here, but I would see so many people progress in such better ways if they would set the bar a little bit lower. I think that's the reason so many people gain weight back or fall out of their routine is because the expectations or the parameters become so high for themselves that they're, I'm not going to say unachievable, but they're unachievable without
who they are at that point. A silly
amount of sacrifice. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I guess that's my, for me to wrap that all up and put a bow on it, man, it's like, in order to stay motivated and excited and invested and involved, like whatever you create, you have to be, whatever program or plan you create for yourself has to be set up in a way that you can progress, you can have your micro victories, but you don't have to sacrifice your sanity for it.
Yeah.
You don't have to sacrifice 30 hours a week for it or whatever. So that's my 2 cents there.
Same.
same. He said,
Shit.
same.
Well,
Yeah.
I was thinking about the rate of progression earlier, and it's like, again, I feel like it goes like this. And when it comes to starting shit, yeah, just don't start up here.
Yeah.
Don't start with where you're not at.
Yeah.
You know, like taking it back to dirt bike riding, just for comparison.
Yeah, dude.
What if I
were to get on a
started
dirt
with
bike
just
the first time? Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like,
if I were
no,
to get
you-
one on the first time, man, I'm not gonna fucking hit that shit going as fast as I can, and like,
You start with, okay, what's the clutch?
wipe
Okay,
out.
where's the gears? Okay, yeah, like literally the simplest of the simplest shit you figure out first, and then you build up. And that's the same with, I guess, everything. It sounds like.
yeah,
So
it's like get good at it, man. Yeah, to circle back, I said the food journal, then the calories, and it's the same thing, right? Like, you're not gonna try to. I'm not gonna try to drift or something around a corner if I can't even, if I don't even know where the brake is.
yeah,
Or
if you
I
can't
haven't
even control
if I
the
haven't
bike,
even
and,
turned around a corner before, I'm
Yeah.
definitely not gonna try to drift around a corner.
yeah, like
you
in
know?
the beginning, I which it sounds silly, but it was hard for me to turn the wheel, like.
You just didn't know
When
how
I
to
was-
do it. You didn't know
yeah,
like,
when I
how
was
hard
turning,
do I push it, or
yeah, when I was turning, I was like, my body didn't want to turn the wheel, but after taking hundreds of turns over those 2 days, my body automatically did it.
Yeah.
Because I was at a different point in the process.
Sure.
I wasn't at that beginning point. So yeah, if you can start off with the low bar.
Yeah.
Or the lowest bar, and then just build up whenever
Yeah.
you can
Respect
actually
the steps.
whenever you can actually maintain where you're at.
Yeah.
Then go up.
Yeah,
but
and I
keep it
truthfully,
slow.
I truthfully didn't mean to dog on anybody that might be excited or really tries to dive in head first, because I understand that some personalities are just like that. But it's like, if you're someone that's struggling with adherence, you have to just start simpler, man. You got to start simpler, and there's nothing wrong with that. And if it seems like it's too simple, well, try it, get good at it, and then make it harder. Do more then.
Keep your ego out of it.
Yeah, but prove to yourself first that you can.
Yeah.
Take if it's working out 2 days a week, well then see if you can do that a week in a row. If you can do it, and then there's time for a third that you can figure out, well then add a third. There's different ways and modalities to approach and incorporate it, but it's like, this shit is just, it's not a sprint, man.
And you have time to experiment with this idea. And yeah, what happens if it's the fucking best idea that you could have ever done? And if it's not, then you could always change it. But if it is, you're gonna get those rewards.
Yeah, the adherence has to be there first, though.
Yeah.
So, but dang. All right, let's wrap this one up there. Thank y'all for listening.
See you.